What's up, guys? It is Wednesday, December 21st, and this is Newswave. So the first bit of news we're going to get into today is surrounding Forza Horizon 3 and these microtransactions they've actually introduced into the game. It's not a big deal, I think, for microtransactions to be in games, even if they're kind of expensive, usually like the $40 mark. This game, however, is a $60 game, so keep that in mind. It's not a cheap game, and they introduced microtransactions. Now, these transactions, of course, are optional. You don't really have to buy them. They're really tokens that you then use to buy other cars with, so you can kind of shortcut your way to the car you want, if that's the case. If you have the money to burn, you can do it. The big thing that a lot of people are running into is that the most expensive car in the game right now would cost you about $100 in the US dollars. Now, the car in question is an Alfa Romeo, and it is 10 million tokens, or credits, essentially. The tokens translate to credits, and it's 10 million credits, which, like I said before, translates to $100 US dollars, or I believe it was something like 83 pounds in the UK. And this is an odd move to have one car cost more than the actual retail game costs. And again, I know it's not a big deal because it's optional. It just seems like a really high asking price for a single car in the game. That doesn't get you everything. That's more than the game, and you get one car. I'm sure the car must be awesome. I have not bought it, but it's a little odd that they introduced this into it. I know some of the other ones had kind of the same thing where you'd buy currency and stuff in game. It just seems, like I said, it seems a little odd to add this to a full price $60 game. There are other things you can, of course, buy with the credits, cars and everything. There's a whole bunch of cars you could basically buy if you want to shortcut the game. Like I said, just seems a little weird. I don't know what you guys think about this. Again, they are optional, so it's not really the end of the world for the game. You can grind the credits out yourself just by, playing the game. But I guess if you just want to throw $100 at it, get, I guess, what is essentially the best car in the game and drive around, there you go. You could do it. So let's move on to something a little sadder, I think, a little more sad. It has to do around Crytek. Now, we talked about Crytek a little bit in the past and how they were having some money problems because former employees, or current employees even through Glassdoor, were complaining that they weren't getting paid on time or paid at all for the past couple months of work. And I said it then, I'll say it now. If you're not getting paid to go to work, you probably shouldn't be going to work anymore. Like I said, after the first pay period or two that are missed, you really shouldn't be going to work anymore. I'm sure that some of these employees were passionate about what they were doing, didn't really want to give up on the company, but sometimes you have to move on. And I think Crytek at this point has realized that they need to downsize in order to survive, and they're actually closing some of their studios. So Crytek's actually closing their studios in Hungary, Bulgaria, South Korea, China, and Turkey. Now, all of these studios are being closed, and from what I've read, they are either having to do severance packages or just terminating any of the employees, and they're trying to, apparently anyone working with CryEngine, they're trying to kind of transfer and keep their job because that's what they want to focus on now. They want to focus simply on creating a new big IP, kind of like the Crysis series, using their engine, and that's how they make money. They license their engine, they make a game that really shows off the features of it, and that's how they've survived. That's what happened with Crysis. Crysis was big for a while, and it showed off what the engine could do, and of course then you start licensing the engine. It worked well, but they really need to get back to their roots, and I think that's what they basically want to do now. Get back to their roots, make an awesome game like how Crysis was, and then start licensing the engine out to people who want to use it and get the same effects. Now, they do still have two offices that are open. There's one in Kyiv, Ukraine, and then there's also one in Frankfurt. Both of those will remain open. More than likely, employees that are staying on for CryEngine will be transferred there to help create whatever this new IP is that they're going to make. We still don't know. It's going to be apparently original. I don't think it's going to be Crysis 4, although, to be honest, Crysis 4 could be the biggest moneymaker they have if they need a short-term plan just to bring capital in. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Crysis 4 announced in the next year. 2017, we might even see it happen, but it's up to them what they want to sculpt here with their downsized studios now. And we get more Nintendo news, of course. It seems like every other day or every day there's just more news about Nintendo, whether it be the Switch or something else happening. Well, in this case, they've actually worked with the FCC now to basically file and test a new wireless device. Now, according to FCC's website, it's conducted a number of tests on the product, and the product itself, usually when you put them in, they have a model number essentially to identify them. Well, this one has a model number HAC016, and what's really interesting about this, it's a new wireless device. I was thinking personally it could be something like a Joy-Con attachment or something for the Switch coming out. For example, maybe they want to do something that could sync to the system that lets you do things like play. Maybe it's a new wireless GameCube controller, for example. I don't think it's a new 3DS or anything like that, which is what a lot of people have, of course, jumped to the conclusion for, is it's a new 3DS. It could be. I'm not saying it's not. It definitely could be. I personally think it's something more along accessory lines for the Switch, like I said, maybe a differently shaped Joy-Con, like maybe a wireless GameCube controller, maybe even something that looks like a wireless Super Nintendo controller that syncs up to it. Now, it could be anything before, like I said, so your guess is as good as mine at this point. I will say the most interesting thing about this filing is that what happens is there's a confidentiality clause so that the FCC cannot release documents or anything about what they filed for. And usually there's a date that it goes up because more than likely the company either announces what they're doing or they don't care anymore and it kind of goes away. So what's interesting is the date that this confidentiality clause is up on is June 18th of 2017, which is the week of E3 2017. So more than likely, whatever has been filed is being announced at E3, or it's announced before E3, and then they go into detail at E3 about whatever it is. So that is what really has a lot of people thinking it's a new system, like a new 3DS. I still think it's part of their Switch lineup at E3 that would be something like a controller. But we'll just have to wait and see, I guess, and hopefully E3, because the Switch will be out before then. Obviously, they have a good shot to put out games and accessories then. So I guess we'll see at E3 2017. So this little bit of news kind of got out there, and it really blew up because, of course, it's about Overwatch. You guys probably already know what I'm talking about because I think everybody saw it on Twitter. Well, they came out with a holiday comic, and it was pretty funny. It was a cool read. It was neat. But the big thing was one of the big characters in the game, Tracer, who's ironically on the cover of the thing, actually turned out to have a scene in the comic that shows that Tracer may be gay. And of course, everybody on Twitter is freaking out about it. Basically what happens is, you'll see here, it shows a comic slide where Tracer's being kissed by another girl. And it's basically assumed that that's her partner, Emily, and she is gay at this point. Well, that's fine. That's great. I don't see any issues or anything with that. I mean, that's great to have character development like that for different characters. That's awesome. But apparently Russia did not like that, basically. They took acceptance of that and decided that does not belong in their country, I guess. So you could not read this comic. It was pointed out by several people that the Russian site of Overwatch, where you go to the site, you're allowed to read the comic and everything. So on the Russian website of Overwatch, it has basically the front comic. You can see the front page of it, basically the cover, and plastered right over it is basically a sentence that is in Russian that then translates to, in accordance with Russian law, we cannot share this comic with our players on territory of Russian Federation. Now, basically what's happening here is Russia seems to be known for not liking what they call gay propaganda being brandished towards minors. And what happens is that's actually punishable by things like imprisonment, fines, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I guess Russia just did not like the depiction of two girls kissing in Overwatch, especially because of the main character. But it seems really stupid. But I guess that's Russian censorship. I don't know. I don't live in Russia. I really can't tell you. Maybe one of you guys have experience of that or have lived in Russia or live in Russia now, and you could let us know in the comments if that's something that's common there. I'm really not sure, so I guess let us know. Oh, and get ready to abuse the hell out of your wallet because December 22nd marks the start date of Steam Winter Sale, which of course we all know as the day that most things go on sale for 80 to 90% off, and we can get games that we'll probably never play and will sit in our backlog for a long time only because they're $1 to $2 on sale. So what happened was PayPal UK, I'm not really sure why it was them who announced it. Maybe one of you guys can shed some light on that for me. I know PayPal is, of course, a partner with Steam for sales and stuff because you can pay through PayPal. But they announced on Twitter today that the Steam sale starts the 22nd of December, which is tomorrow. So get ready. I'm sure, like I said, we're just going to beat our wallets up pretty bad here because that's what always happens. But then again, $20 goes really far for a Steam sale. I think every year I end up spending $20 to $40 and I walk away with like 15 games, which is crazy, but they're games that I probably will never play, and if I do install them, it'll be like a year later. So, but it's always nice to increase that Steam library every year. And it looks like Mega Man is going to mobile. So what's happening is Capcom has announced that all 6 Mega Man games, the first ones, are going to iOS and Android in early January. And Capcom's actually bringing them in at a decent price. Each one is going to be $1.99, no microtransactions at all. Basically, you buy it, $2, you get either Mega Man 1 through 6, you can pick which one you want. You don't have to buy it as like a legacy collection for $20 or $10 or whatever. I actually like that because I would not mind having something like Mega Man 2 or Mega Man 6 on my Android system. The only issue I have is, if you're at all familiar with, for example, touchscreen controls on an iPhone, you know they are not good for these type of games. Mega Man especially, there's usually delay. You can't tell which buttons you're pressing unless you're looking down at the controls, and that's a little worrying. I mean, I can't imagine them playing well. Luckily, it's only $2. You can also get those controllers separately that you can use, and you know, there's a lot of ways around it, but if it's not really a game that I would think you'd be able to pick up and play if you're like waiting for a bus to pick you up, or if you're in the doctor's office sitting in the waiting room. But you know what, more games are more games on the marketplaces. I completely see this happening with a lot of games starting to go to the bigger market that is the mobile games. Any of these games like these that are $2 or less are going to sell like crazy. Capcom, it's the easiest way for them to make some quick capital. I mean, I could see easily them moving, you know, 500,000 to 1 million copies of all of these together in the first day, which is an easy $1 to $2 million, no sweat. And it's time for a little bit of retro news today. I like these kind of things that they find down the road. It's actually been 18 years since Suikoden 2 has come out, and what's great is people actually started decompiling the code again, checking things out, and they actually found a secret that they've missed this entire time. So what they've done is they've gone through the game and they found basically a piece of dialogue that has gone unused in the game, and it actually points to a New Game Plus option that could have been possible. Now, after reading through it, they actually found, like I said, this long string of code here, and it talks about they've linked it basically to a dungeon that has not been used. A fan named Pyro, I hope I said that right, Pyro, discovered hidden in the Saha village toward the end of Suikoden 2. And it basically talks, like I said, about a New Game Plus. I'll show you the text here, and I'll kind of read it a little bit. And basically what it does is it goes through, basically asking you, would you like to restart the game? You know, are you sure you'd like to restart the game? Last chance, we're going to restart the game. You're going to lose your friends, and you'll basically have to start over with what I assume to be your items and possibly your levels. And, you know, New Game Plus was always great. I love New Game Plus. It's so much fun to play back through the game with all of your levels and abilities, items, armor, all of that stuff. And, you know, it's kind of a shame to look back on this and see that it was possible, but they just didn't do it, whether it be for technical reasons or it didn't make sense to the story. There's probably a couple reasons why it didn't happen. And it's exciting to think about if they would get that HD remake that would then make that possible. That's a really cool idea. Now, I was really happy. That's one of the reasons I was really happy that Final Fantasy 15 is getting their New Game Plus, because it's a great idea. It was awesome in older JRPGs, and I think it should be used more now. And the last bit of news comes from Civilization 6. Their new winter update actually came out, and it includes things like bug fixes and tweaks and stuff to help the game, alongside some paid DLC as well. Now, the paid DLC includes some new scenarios and the first post-release Civilization Poland. Poland Civilization is priced at $5. There's also another $5 paid DLC that includes the Viking scenario pack and so on. If you're a fan of Civilization 6 and you're having a lot of fun, I would check them out. They look pretty cool. And guys, that's going to do it for news today on Newswave. Definitely check us out every morning, 10 a.m., Monday through Friday. And we'll have new Newswaves up every day. And I will see you guys next time.